Senior Life Journeys presents Carol Howell's Let's Talk Dementia, a podcast designed to help caregivers find knowledge, power, hope, and smiles in their dementia caregiving journey. Welcome to Let's Talk Dementia. Here is your host, best-selling author, Carol Howell.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Dementia. I'm glad that you're here today. We're going to talk about the symptoms of the 3 stages of dementia, specifically Alzheimer's type dementia. I break it down into 3 stages: early, mid, and late. And depending on where you're reading the information, who is teaching the class, you may hear it in 6 or 7 stages. Ms. Teepa Snow, who I highly regard as being the go-to person for dementia education, but don't forget about me in that journey too, okay? But she talks about the various stages in regards to different stones, with the ruby, diamond, the pearl. But me, I just do early, mid, and late, and it seems to work good in my brain. So with early stage Alzheimer's, the person can still function independently. They may still drive or work or cook or participate in social activities, and they may still pay their own bills, maintain their yard and their home, and they may dress themselves appropriately. But eventually we see problems that might include not dressing appropriately for the occasion or the event, failing to take baths, incontinence, that ability to know when you need to go potty, problems remembering what they have just read. You might see someone who reads quite a lot and always has suddenly not be able to finish a book because they pick it up and they can't remember what they last read, so they start over. Losing or misplacing things. Now, that's not the kind of thing where you go, does anybody know where my glasses are? And the whole time they're on top of your head. But finding your glasses in the freezer, now that's just a little strange. Trouble planning or organizing. Now, for some folks, that's always been a problem. You got to kind of keep that in mind. My mama couldn't organize squat. I swear she couldn't. I made her a filing system, and I made a file that said things Vera wants to keep, just random things. And I looked back in the filing system some 6-8 months later, and she had put every single thing in that file. I'm like, Mama, why is your bank statement and, all these various things in this one file? She said, because it was things I wanted to keep. And I knew that when you got here, you would file it correctly for me. So I could not use this trouble planning or organizing as a symptom for my mama, because she could never do it. But it can be for other people. Trouble remembering names. Now, if that is the only symptom stage or symptom of a stage of Alzheimer's, then let me tell you, I am in bad shape, because I cannot remember names. I got to write them down. I've got to assimilate them with something that will help me remember who they are. And that's a good thing to do. I tell folks, my name is Carol, my husband's Michael, and Michael and Carol were the Brady Bunch. That was the mom and dad on the Brady Bunch, and they can remember who we are. So I try to assimilate names that way, but we get to the point that we just cannot remember names. That is something to be aware of. Failure to attend social events or go to work or church or group meetings or things we should do and actually enjoy doing. We'll see folks forget to go. Problems with numbers, especially in regards to money. We start seeing folks buying everything there is to sell on the internet and on the television, and they donate to every charity, but they forget to pay for their long-term care insurance or the power bill. And speaking of which, long-term care insurance, life insurance, health insurance, you need to notify all of these people that as a backup for my loved one, if they don't pay, please notify me and I will pay on their behalf. Because the last thing you want to do is find out that your mom failed to pay on that long-term care insurance, paid on it for 45 years, and now that she needs it, 3 months ago she quit paying for it, and now you need it. Oh, don't let that happen. So have some kind of backup plan in place with the company that they will notify you if payments haven't been made. Mid-stage Alzheimer's, you're going to see the symptoms are more evident, and they might include refusing to bathe, not just forgetting to, but just refusing to bathe. Problems expressing their thoughts. They'll start a thought or an opinion, and they can't get through it. They can't remember all the details to get through it. Problems completing common tasks like cooking or making the bed or laundry or shopping, and you'll come and see things half done because they started it, but they couldn't finish it. Now, I've been in the homes of a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you, a lot of you turkeys have that problem. You just need to get some stuff done. But again, that I digress. Forgetfulness of events about one's own life. Things that relate directly to that person, they forget. And that may be things that they were going to do or things they have recently participated in, they don't remember. Moodiness. Think about your teenage girl. Oh my goodness, I do remember those days of moodiness with that little turkey. And we see moodiness in the mid-stage of Alzheimer's. Withdrawal. Our folks will withdraw because they realize they have an issue. They realize life is complicated and they're scared. Again, problems with numbers in the checking account. Checks will bounce. Can't remember addresses or phone numbers that they've always known. Of course, in our world today, who memorizes phone numbers anymore? We just don't. We don't memorize email addresses. We just type in and bang, it pops up on our phones. But for your loved one, they probably have remembered phone numbers for a long time, especially their own, and they can't recall it. Space and time become a problem. You know, where I am, where in the world I am, where in this town I am, and what year is it? So they may not realize that they're in the city that they've always been in and that this building is their house. And they may think that it's 1968. Time and space become a problem. Problems choosing proper clothing for the season or the occasion. They will dress inappropriately and not even realize that they've got on flip-flops and a tank top and there's 6 inches of snow on the ground. Those won't go together in their mind. Incontinence of bowel and bladder. They have lost the ability to control the bowel and the bladder, and it's a big problem. Problems with sleeping, personality changes, aggression, depression, delusions, and wandering can become a risk factor. Not everyone wanders. There are folks who go through every stage of Alzheimer's and do not wander. It's just not part of their personality. It's not something they've done. I know a lady right now that I was talking to her son about should she go to memory care, and I said, do you think your mom's a wanderess, that she might open the door and walk down the road and us not know where she is? He said, honey, my mama don't get out the chair for nobody. Now, that's probably a good sign that she will not be a wanderer, but it is not always a definitive conclusion that can be made. Sometimes those folks who really were very lethargic and just laid around were couch potatoes, will suddenly decide it's time to get up and go somewhere, and out the door they go. So you have to be aware of that. And then with late-stage Alzheimer's, which is what I am most familiar with right now because it's just in my brain, my mom having passed away from late-stage Alzheimer's May 31st of 2019. So it's been 7 months since Mama passed, and I miss that little woman so much. But I think about what life was like for her then. The symptoms become very severe, and constant care is needed for everything. There is nothing that goes on in their life that they do not need someone with them to make sure A, that it happens, and B, that it happens safely. So here are a few symptoms of late-stage Alzheimer's. They include the 24-hour care that's needed, no memory at all of recent events. They cannot remember breakfast at lunchtime. They cannot remember lunch at dinner time. They cannot remember who you are, and they cannot remember who they are. So they no longer able to recognize loved ones. They look in the mirror and they see somebody and they don't even recognize that it's them, because in their mind they're probably 20 years old, and here is an 80-year-old gray-headed woman. Who is that in the mirror? Problems with swallowing and drinking and eating. Well, obviously, if we're having problems with swallowing, drinking and eating are going to be a problem too. So swallowing becomes an issue. The brain is not sending those signals to tell the body what to do. There is a lot that has to happen for food to be eaten. The brain's got to say, first of all, I'm hungry. The brain quits sending that signal. But if the signal does happen, then the brain's got to say, pick up the fork, put it in the mashed potatoes, scoop them up, put the mashed potatoes in the mouth, chew, Swallow. Get it down the right pipe and not the wrong pipe so we don't choke to death. Swallowing and drinking become a problem, and eating. Not sleeping well or sleeping all the time. We just see that. I can tell you my mom slept a lot. I think if I had to choose, no, I know if I had to choose, and we don't get to choose. It's not up to us to decide. But sleeping many hours a day, I think, is easier for our folks in late-stage Alzheimer's than not sleeping well. Not sleeping leads to another host of problems that we don't need. Increased problems with communication. You'll hear things like I want, can you get, and you're like, you want what and can I get what? They can't get their thoughts together. These folks are more likely to experience infections and pneumonia. Those chances for those things increase drastically. Infections, especially urinary tract infections, but any type of infections, if they have a fall and they tear the skin, more likely to have infections because of that. Pneumonia is a huge problem with folks in the late stage of Alzheimer's. In fact, many of our folks will pass away because of pneumonia. And sometimes that's put on their death certificate. They died because of pneumonia, but really what they died of was Alzheimer's that caused the body to be more susceptible to them having pneumonia. So it was really Alzheimer's that killed them, and pneumonia was just a side effect of that. They are definitely more likely to wander if they are that kind of person who walks. We see some folks with late-stage Alzheimer's, as I've mentioned, who just lay around all the time and sleep, and some people that just walk and walk and walk and walk and walk and walk, and you think, sit down. And those folks are definitely more likely to try to open the door, not necessarily because they want to wander, but it's a door and a doorknob, and I do remember how to do that. So they open the door and they walk out. Sometimes it's a very innocent thing, but obviously that can lead to problems. Increased agitation and depression, that is very hard to deal with. The agitation is very difficult because they're not happy, and they're not happy with you, and they're not happy with life, and they're not happy with what you're offering, and they're angry, and they're liable to push you aside and say dirty words, and that's hard to deal with. And depression is hard to deal with. You're going to see some depression, I would say, in everybody dealing with late-stage Alzheimer's because they are declining. And to some degree, our folks always know that. And then no interest in activities. Obviously, that is true. No interest in activities because they know that they can't function the way they should, and it's causing them to just want to pull within themselves. It's a sad time of life, but it can still be a good time of life. We can still bring to our folks love and happiness and joy and music and funny stories. And I tell you, one of the best things you can do is play that video on YouTube of the daddy ripping a piece of paper in front of the baby and the baby laughing every time daddy rips the piece of paper. It just cracks me up, and it will crack up your folks with dementia. I know I've done it a bunch. Well, I hope that just clears up maybe a little bit about the differences in the various stages of Alzheimer's. I'm here to answer your questions. You can email me, and my email is carol@letstalkdementia.org. Now, I'm sitting here looking at myself in this screen, and for those of you who are watching it on YouTube, or on the podcast, you'll have to hear my description. I've got these white spots. I just had this cream put on my face that's supposed to get rid of wrinkles, and it did really well, but I should have touched up my makeup before I came on this show. I kind of look like I've got something weird going on. Well, I didn't buy the cream. It was outrageously expensive, but I guess I'll just be a wrinkled girl. I hope you guys have a good day. Blessings and smiles. Bye-bye.
Let's Talk Dementia would like to thank our sponsors, National Association of Veterans and Families. You can reach them at 800-352-2919, on the internet at www.navf.org. They speak veterans so you don't have to, and you tell them Carol sent you when you call to inquire about benefits for the veteran, the spouse of the veteran, or both. Editor Beth, you can find Ms. Beth Crosby at editorbeth.com. She is amazing at looking at what you've written and making sure it represents you well. Find her at www.editorbeth.com. and HD Imports, located on Flint Street Extension in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That's York County. 803-985-0985. They are there for the repair and maintenance of your Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Kia. Tell them Carol sent you.
Thanks for joining us today for Carol Howell's Let's Talk Dementia. To learn more about dementia, we recommend Carol's best-selling book, also titled Let's Talk Dementia. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle versions. Be sure to like Let's Talk Dementia on Facebook and leave us a kind word of review on iTunes. Remember, knowledge brings power. Power brings hope. Hope brings smiles. And we all need more smiles. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll be right here when you come back to Let's Talk Dementia.